Hey guys, this is Jason Faunt and welcome to this week's Boom Chat. I am here with Matthew Erman and Giuseppe Cafaro, the artist and the writer of Power Rangers Sins of the Future, the much anticipated sequel to the TV series Power Rangers Time Force, where we find out what happened to Wes and Jen, how they continue a relationship. And I've been asked a million times, what happened to these two? And I'm so happy to be joined by you two today to learn more about this and talk about it with the fans. How you guys doing?
I'm doing great. Thank you for doing this. This is incredible.
Very cool.
Yeah,
Very
great.
cool.
I'm great too. Great
Well,
to
first
be
of all,
here.
guys, great job. Jose sent this to me and I read it, and you guys did an amazing job. And let me tell you, before I get into some questions I want to ask you, there were so many details in Power Rangers Time Force that I feel like unless you were there living it, you might not have picked up on. I was shocked to see certain elements like Frax involved and a lot of layers that you guys did that only true fans would know. So congratulations on a great job on such research to find out these things. Yeah, great job.
Thank you. That is a huge compliment coming from you. You actually lived it. So I'm just a historian. I just went back and tried to put the pieces together and figure out what exactly happened.
So guys, I want to dive into each of you here. So Matthew, let's start with you. How did you get involved in this? What was the journey getting there? How the time travel, the stuff?
Absolutely. So I've been a comic writer for going on like 3 or 4 years now. I watched Power Rangers when I was a child. I grew up with the series. It was pretty foundational in my development.
Nice.
As a boy and into a young man, a lot of my morals and code of ethics were taken from Power Rangers.
Yep.
So Boom approached me. I'd been working with them on the Dark Crystal series, and I guess something about my voice or something about the way that I write stories was interesting to Boom, and they wanted to see me take a crack at this graphic novel. And I honestly, no offense, I did not watch Time Force when it was appearing on the in 2001, 2002. So I, as an adult, got to go back and really experience the entirety of the show with a fully cognitive adult brain. And it's very good. Congratulations, Jason. It completely holds up.
Yep. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Very cool. And Giuseppe, how about you now? How did you get involved? I mean, amazing work. I look at some of these creations that you've done as an artist. I can't draw worth anything. So when I see some of these things, I'm like, oh my God, that's amazing. Just seeing yourself as a cartoon form. So great job. And how did you get involved in all this?
Yeah, I'm in Boom since 3 years right now, and this is my third graphic novel for Power Rangers. So I've been since a while, and it's always a great experience to meet all of you. I started with Tommy, with the Green Ranger for my first graphic novel, and then I went to Astronema, and then I went to Time Force, and it's always amazing. Yeah, I grew up with Power too, so it's great.
So you did grow up with it. So you were in Italy, as some of our viewers may know. So you grew up watching Power Rangers. Power Rangers was playing out there.
Yeah.
That's
since
so
I was
cool.
a child.
That's incredible.
It's incredible. Yeah, it's amazing. I've been fortunate to travel the world doing appearances in Comic-Cons, and it's so cool to see the reach that this show has to so many countries, and now multiple generations. So I didn't know Italy was a part of that. So that's so amazing. And how cool. Now here you are working as an artist for a show you watched as a kid. That's pretty cool.
It's cool for me.
Yep. All right, guys. Well, I got a couple questions that I've been wanting to ask you. So the first thing I realized is time travel can get pretty confusing. And I thought, okay, how are these guys going to pull this off? Did you guys do any time travel research besides Time Force? Because they can go in so many different directions. We've seen a million movies, Back to the Future, all these things that happen. What kind of research did you guys do involving time travel?
Yeah, no, there's a lot of research. It's really confusing. Time travel, turns out, is quite paradoxical, and you really need to dot your T's and cross your I's, as the saying goes, to make sure this all makes sense. I know I got that wrong, but let's just keep rolling with it. I did. So I guess the biggest amount of research, obviously, we watched all of Time Force, which surprisingly, time travel plays a pretty small role in Time Force. You're usually pretty consistently in 2001, 2002 time period. Like, you're not going back and forth.
Yeah.
So we had to go through the lore of Time Force. I think there was a 4-hour phone call I had with the editor, just parsing through the logic of what Time Force means in this universe. Because like you said, like Back to the Future has its own internal logic system of just like parallel dimensions and all this stuff. And then you've got things like Looper, which are just completely different and completely off the cuff. So we really tried to make the time travel as sensible as possible while still understanding that it inherently doesn't make sense. And I think that's the fun of it. I think that's the beauty of it.
That's true. That's true. Giuseppe, what are your thoughts on that? The time travel aspect of it?
Yeah, it was a little bit strange at the beginning. In fact, I started to chat with Matthew because I was losing my mind at some point. And I said, okay, what's going on right here? And then I started to chat with Matthew, and he cleared me up everything. And yeah, it was cool. It was cool.
The script was dense. I mean, I feel bad for Giuseppe because the script was just, it required so much information to get across, like, we are traveling, here's what it looks like, here's where we're going, here's where we've been, here's where we might go. And it was just like, he did an incredible job, which
Thanks, mate.
super impressive.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, well, we'll continue on that journey because I want to continue to learn about that. So Giuseppe, let's stay on you. You created this new Black Ranger for the book. What was that process like? It's an all new character that didn't exist in the series. But when I heard that there was this new Black Ranger that didn't exist, I thought, wow, that's odd. That's interesting. But then when I found it was Alex's sister, I thought, now that's pretty cool. That's a cool take. So what was it like designing the new Black Ranger, and were there different incarnations, and how did that work out?
Yeah, it was amazing. It's always amazing to create new Power Rangers, you know. It was not so difficult to create it because, you know, Power Ranger has their own uniforms. So we just had to create a new logo, but give her a beautiful giant sword. So it was pretty amazing to design the weapon, and also her character as human form. It was amazing to create her. It was cool. Yeah, I always love to create new Power Rangers, you know. It's something. It's a
dream. It's a literal dream come true.
That's awesome. Well, great job. Great job in that. It took me by surprise, but it worked out really well. Okay, Matthew, so what were some of the challenges working within this universe? So, you know, I guess it kind of touched on what we talked about earlier. What were some of those challenges for you?
Oh, yeah. I mean, Power Rangers, as you know, is an incredibly expansive, multi-generational, multi-season property that has, you know, there's been video games, there's been comics, there's been movies, there's been TV shows, there's been Twitch live stream D&D games. So it's like, you have to, probably honestly, the hardest part about writing Power Rangers is kind of contextualizing all of it into a single thing, because there's so much of it, and there's so much information. You know, you can go to the Power Rangers wiki and just spend hours reading all of this information and all of this lore that the fans comb through the series for to put out there. And sometimes it's like, you know, searching through a haystack to find just that little bit of information and finding what you need to make the story make sense. And it's a bit like a puzzle. And as hard as it was to do some of that, it was incredibly rewarding and so fun to play in the Power Rangers sandbox. And that's really what it was. You get these characters and you get the world and you have the context of the TV show, but you're allowed to, you know, play action figures as a writer and kind of do what you want. It's what I've been doing since I was a kid. So I felt super at home. It was great.
That's awesome. Okay, Giuseppe, you did Soul of the Dragon. You did Sin to the Future. So again, from a non-artist standpoint, I'm just blown away by people being able to just draw a face. Mount Rushmore is still one of the most amazing things I've ever seen. I'm like, I don't know how artists do these things, but has it gotten easier for you? I mean, you did Soul of the Dragon, you did Sin to the Future. Has creating and drawing in this universe gotten easier for you as you've gone further into it?
Yeah, you know, it's always kind of easy when you do something you like a lot. So I had the lucky to start with my favorite Power Ranger. My first graphic novel was about Tommy, about the Green Ranger, but it was a more deeper and serious story. And then also for my second graphic novel, The Psychopath. And also for this one, I love to work on the relationship between the characters and not only on the action scenes, on the fights. So yes, it's pretty easy. It's fun.
Good.
So humble. It's pretty easy.
Yeah,
No,
pretty
come
easy.
It's pretty easy.
Okay, Matt. So the Black Ranger. Let's talk about the Black Ranger. This new character that comes into play.
Yeah.
What was it like creating that character, and did Hasbro have any role in that process of adding this new element, this new wrinkle? Who created that? Who thought of that?
So Trey Moore came up with the story for the entire concept. And when I say that, he, wrote up this very beautiful, basically couple page pitch for what he envisioned the story to be. And he's a huge Time Force fan. I believe he grew up with it and it was part of his, he's just a big fan of this stuff. And when I sat down and I read his pitch for the story, I was blown away by the opportunities to create new characters. And I think that's frequently the most fun part about being a writer and doing kind of intellectual property work, is getting to leave your personal mark on these worlds and these universes. And when we had, I think she was named different in the story pitch, but Alex's sister, we saw this great opportunity. Me and Matthew Levine and Daphne, the editors, we saw this great opportunity to be like, let's make a new Power Ranger. I mean, and also, how many opportunities do you get in a lifetime to make a new Power Ranger? It's like maybe one, hopefully two.
Yeah.
So we went through and we looked at Time Force and we saw the Time Force colors and we saw the Hyper Force colors. And I think the Black Power Rangers, they're always, in my mind, they're one of the coolest. There's something about the lack of color when you have all of the Power Rangers representing a color and you have this one that's absent of color. I always were super entranced by those. And I thought I saw the opportunity, let's make a Black Time Force Ranger. And Matthew and Daphne and Hasbro were all down for it. And I can't say anything else. It's a dream come true. Making her and kind of coming up with her character and having Giuseppe do the designs, highlight of my year, honestly.
That's very cool. Okay, so Giuseppe, I wanted to talk to you about the colors as well. Francisco Segala, I hope I'm saying that right. Tell me more about the process working with Matthew and Francisco, how that collaborative process went to create this new novel. How did that go?
So, when you start to work with a new comic book, you usually don't know a lot of the people who work with you. I knew that Matthew was writing, but we never worked together before this book. And I didn't know at the beginning that Francisco was the colorist. And then I find that was him. And then I find that he was Italian too. And then it was pretty easier because we start to talk together. Me and Francisco and Matthew, we start to chat. We start to put some little Easter egg inside the book. And I think that Francisco did an amazing job, especially with the Black Ranger. It's not easy to color something is black, but he did an amazing job. Yeah, and Matthew too. So it was funny. It was clear at the beginning that it could be a beautiful book to do. So I hope to work with them together again.
So kind. Thank you. That's the nicest thing. Seriously,
you
thank
deserve it. You deserve.
That's very cool, guys. To get my personal stuff on this, it's funny when I heard about, and I saw the, Boom start to create these comics, and selfishly, I always love having Time Force a part of all these things, because I've been fortunate enough to travel the world, and I hear fans all the time say that Power Rangers was a little bit more developed with the characters and the story and the arcs, and that the fans really love that, and they've grown with Power Rangers Time Force, which has always been exciting to hear that. You always love hearing that. So the fact that you guys now dove into this and created this, I was just so excited. to see how this played out. The biggest, literally 15 countries in the past 5 years I've been to, from Alabama to Saudi Arabia. Fans always say, what happens to Wes and Jen? I mean, it's incredible. So this is so cool that this has come out. And I've been in 10 cities in the last probably 10 weeks with these comic book stores signing. Everybody knows about this. Everybody's excited about this. So awesome, guys, to do this. The hype is out there. We've been pushing it like crazy. And it's so cool to be a part of something like this. And I hope, fingers crossed, you guys continue to dive into Time Force, because with time travel, we should be theoretically a part of every new comic book going forward, right?
I think that's you know what? I think that's a really good jumping off point for a whole series of Time Force comics. And I hope Boom listens to you.
That is very cool. So did you guys, I'll put this down, I love my little notes there, but so how did you guys come up with the stories of this? You know, when I read about it, I thought, okay, how does this work? Who's involved with this? Is Alex going to be a part of this? How did you guys decide to go in this direction in terms of story content? How did that get developed?
Yeah, I mean, so again, Trey Moore, kind of the writer behind the scenes, he came up with from his brain, from his old noggin, kind of came up with the answer, or really wanted to develop the question of how does Wes and Jen make a long distance relationship work over 1,000 years? So me as a writer, I really took that opportunity to, I don't know, write a different kind of Power Rangers story. At the heart of it, it's a bit of a romance, because you're seeing these two characters who really do love each other and have experienced a lot and have gone through a lot with each other. And unlike most long distance relationships, they're not only separated by distance, but they're separated by time, which is a really, really fun, wild, crazy concept to play with. And it had the potential to be really funny and really serious and go into some personal things that Jen and Wes, Jess and Wen.
Jess and Wen.
Wes and Jen, they didn't get to go through a lot of these very personal, very reflective moments in the show, because the show has a very strict time constraint, and you really got to get your A to B to C in the show. And because of the graphic format, we could really expand and blow up these characters and really get to see what's going on in their heads. What are they thinking of each other? What do they think about the relationship? And more flesh out these characters that you guys have built and created. I mean, we used your Wes, I mean, from the show as a really big jumping off point for personality and how he acts and how he talks. And so you guys are much of a writer as I am, I think, with stuff like this. Maybe you should get a credit.
Well, I'm on the cover. That's all that matters to me. That's what's exciting. And I look like me, because as an actor, when you see people create stuff, you're always like, man, like the action figures, this graphic novel, you're like, I hope they hit me. They hit exactly what I look like. So when I saw the cover, I was like, oh, it looks so good. It looks so good. I was very, very happy with it.
Gorgeous cover.
Gorgeous cover.
Yeah, it's gorgeous.
That is very cool. Now, do you guys, this is getting in the future, has there been talks of continuation of doing this? Is that something you can't tell the fans, can't tell us, of continuing on this path? Or they talk about just closing the book on this and moving to different seasons? How does that work?
I don't have an NDA, so they haven't contacted me yet. So I hope they do. I mean, I love this. Yeah, I love this season. Right? Who knows? I love this season. I love the characters. I mean, we really only get to go through and experience Wes and Jen's story, but there's Trip, there's Katie, there's Lucas, and I think they all have personalities, and I think they all have stories that can be fleshed out in either, hopefully a graphic novel that maybe focuses on the whole team, or maybe a series. I don't know. It's hopefully everyone literally goes out and buys this book and makes us all very rich, so we can continue to do Time Force.
Continue to do it. That's awesome, guys. That's awesome. Well, guys, that's all the main questions I have. So is there anything else you wanted to add to this? Anything you wanted to include that maybe we didn't talk about?
I mean, I can ask you a question. How was you played two different Power Rangers, two different characters. I think you're the only person to do that. That's pretty incredible. You played
Yeah,
Alex and Wes.
I played Alex and Wes, and yeah, it was really cool because when they did it, I know the beginning parts of Power Rangers, the audition process was, you've got 30 seconds. Let's see you kick and move and flip and jump. Yeah, when they got to us, it was a normal 6-page audition with different layers on it. It was a conversation with your father where there was some emotions, there was some anger, and it was a regular 6-page audition. There was nothing about movement, and they really wanted to go after strong actors. And then for the Wes and the Alex, they kept saying, look, for this character, we want one person that can play two people, and we want to see the differences in these characters. So do the scene as Wes, leave the room, come back, and now we want to see you do it as Alex. So we want to see how different you can be, the mannerisms, the walk, the talk. So I always was excited that I got a chance to do that, and they thought I was a strong enough actor to play two characters. And it's cool. It's a great talking point with all these conventions of some people not realizing it was the same person. And so, yeah, it was a lot of fun to have the two different layers.
Dude, that's incredible. I think that's part of the reason why people love this season so much. And not to poo-poo on any of the other seasons, but all of the characters have really strong actors behind them. The actor that played Rancic was in he's been in a bunch. He's been in Mad Max, I think. So
Yeah,
so much legacy, so much talent in this season that I think your guys' ability to tell the story in a really genuine, convincing way helps the fans love this season and this arc. So thank you.
yep. And yeah, Vernon Wells has been in Commando, Inner Space, a million things. And Edward Albert, who played my father, this guy had done a ton of on-screen stuff. So they brought on these two very experienced older actors that were so good at telling these younger actors a lot of things on set you may or may not know, help us out through stuff, giving us suggestions and pointers. And it just raised the bar, right? So I think that helped immensely having Vernon and Edward on there. Rest in peace, Edward Albert. So, he would be shocked and excited to have seen 20 years later that this little show is continued on.
Yeah.
So it was a lot of fun having them on set.
Sounds like you guys really developed into a very, very cohesive family unit, and that's kind of the story of Power Rangers. That's how Giuseppe and Francisco and we really bonded over creating this, and it sounds like your experience was very similar.
Yep, yeah. Absolutely. Well, guys, thank you so much for your time. And for those of you watching at home, Power Rangers Sins of the Future is available at bookstores everywhere. You guys do not want to miss this. This is the Time Force sequel you've all been asking for. These guys did an amazing job, Francisco as well. So get out there, support us. I'll be continuing to tour all over the world to meet you guys and talk further about it. And thank you guys again for your hard work. Thank you, fans, for supporting, because we would not be here without you. So thanks again, and it's time for Time Force.
Time for Time Force.
Time Force.